You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. It is our live show. Let me get this thing off the screen first. So it is our first live show of the college football season. We're going to be coming and bringing, just this live show to you guys every Saturday morning, man, breaking down some of the big storylines in college football. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You already know you can find me on Twitter at DP_NFL. And, of course, my guy, Mr. LSU, Keith Sanchez. Keith, happy Saturday. And what's good with you, bro?
Man, what's up, DP? What's up, Locked On family? Guess what, DP? I woke up this morning, man. College game day was on. Saturday football was kicking off. And I said, you know what? Life is good. It is what it should be, man. So we decided to go live like we said we'll do all week, man. First of all, man, shout out to y'all for tapping in with us on this Saturday, this beautiful Saturday morning where I'm down here in Baton Rouge, man. But DP, we talking college football, right? And if you look at our slate, right, we're talking all things college football, man. We're hitting all the big topics, all the big discussions. We're going to have a good time talking college football, man. Y'all make sure to tap in with us every Saturday morning as we go live from this YouTube channel. Tell somebody to tell somebody, tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure you tap in with the hottest dynamic duo talking college football. DP, listen, we're going to start this thing from the top, right? We have three blue bloods, right? We have Ohio State. We have Alabama. We have Georgia, right? Three blue blood I guess you could say playoff blue bloods, right? Because those three teams are historically in the playoffs. But DP, this year, neither one of those teams have a returning starter at quarterback. And to be completely honest, neither three of those teams seem completely confident in the guy that's going to be the starting quarterback starting week one. So let's start this thing at the top, DP. The Georgia Bulldogs, I believe they're ranked number one, right? They're going for the three-peat. How do they successfully get to that point with the quarterback situation going on? Jalen Carter leaving, right? Nolan Smith, Keely Ringo, Chris Smith, so many guys leaving off of that defense. So how do they reload, and how is this thing going to look offensively?
Man, the best way I can say that they're going to be able to three-peat is literally the defense is going to have to be the top option for this team. Carson Beck is a first-year starter who's talented. Arm talent. I think he can move a little bit. He's more of a pocket passer from what I've seen, but he's got the arm to make all the throws. He's got the arm that a lot of people said Stetson Bennett didn't have, but Stetson Bennett had the playmaking with his legs, right, and the athleticism that Carson Beck doesn't have. So it's all about trying to get the run game going.
Do you think he's going to be better? You think he's better than Stetson Bennett? Will he be better for this offense? Are we seeing a more explosive Georgia offense this year? Are they taking it to another level? Is this a step back, or should we be expecting the same?
Man, I can't say I'm going to expect the same, Keith, mainly because it's the simple fact of not having Stetson Bennett there, right? Not having your top quarterback who's been in college football for 7 years, who's seen everything. Like, Stetson was a leader on that team too. Like, he brought a veteran leadership to that position, and also losing Todd Monken, going over to the Baltimore Ravens, the offensive coordinator, that made all the offensive players' lives easier, for the Georgia Bulldogs. So I think it's going to look different, right? I think the big thing for them is, of course, leaning on the defense, because their defense is still super talented, right? Malachi Starks at safety, Kamari Lassiter. They got a lot of guys. I think it's Michael Walker, the edge rusher. They still have a lot of dudes defensively. I think the main thing is going to be getting Kendall Hunter, getting Kendall Milton, the running back going. They lost, I think, Branson Robinson, who's a true sophomore 5-star. He got hurt. So I think he's out for the season.
Yep, in training camp, DP. The way I'm going to look at this is not only from the perspective of the quarterback, right? But you talked about the offensive weapons, and maybe if you're losing something defensively, and then the quarterback, it's a change, right? It naturally is going to be adjustment, because one of these guys is going to be taking the helm for the very first time, and we're trusting them, right, to run this entire offense. So I'm expecting some road bumps, DP. And now I'm going to look at the offensive weapons, right? Your Brock Bowers, like you said, Kendall Milton with the running game, and then also Ladd McConkey, right? Nobody's talking Lad McConkey. That's a
my
bad
guy.
boy. That is a bad boy, man. He can do everything. And I know it looks like it's just a product of Georgia offense, but nah, that guy can really run routes. He's an explosive wide receiver. You talked about him, DP, and I said, okay, let me check him out. And I was like, I'm with it. I'm right on board with you, DP. So Georgia Bulldogs, I think this. Expect a couple road bumps, right? Everything probably won't go as smooth. I'm expecting some potential turnovers from the offense, right? As they introduce this new quarterback and he gets comfortable. You know, Kirby Smart, he's going to want to do what? Protect the football, right? Run the football, play good defense. We'll see how that recipe pans out when they go against other talented teams, but I'm expecting them to be in closer games this year. Maybe not week one, but as they play these more talented teams, I'm expecting closer games. So 3P, DP, we putting it on the quarterback. Offensive weapons has to step up, and then we have to see who the next dynamic duo of this defensive line, right? Jordan Davis passed the torch to Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is going to have to pass the torch to somebody else, right? And I think you mentioned
Stackhouse, Barry Alexander's in USC now.
Right.
So, Micah Walker, is he going to be the guy? Like, it's a lot of talent, but they got to go out there and prove this, man.
Yeah, they have to. Well, let's go to, man, Kirby Smart. Where did he come from? University of Alabama, right? The D coordinator there for a long time, man. And it looks like he's trying to take over college football, and Nick Saban might be a little angry about that. But listen, Nick Saban, this quarterback situation, there is no more Tua Tagovailoa, right? There is no more Mac Jones. There is no more Bryce Young. And like I said on the podcast, DP, they're trying to figure out this quarterback situation. They don't have a slated first rounder right now. Alabama Crimson Tide, they have regular people problems right now, right? They don't have a first-round quarterback, so this is regular people problem. This is what the rest of college football has to do. So that path to success for Alabama, DP, making it to the playoffs, how do you foresee that?
Man, Keith, like that path back to the playoffs, because they missed the playoffs last year, to me, it's going to fall on this guy's shoulder, Keith, and it's just keeping it a buck. Jalen Milroe. Like, if he's the quarterback, this big physical specimen that they have at quarterback starting this week. Like, he's got an arm. He's got the arm to throw it and make a lot of the throws. And we know he's super athletic, physical runner, great in open field. Now it's about putting that down-to-down consistency as a passer, man. I think if he can do that, Keith, he gives them the best opportunity to win. I know that they have, a couple other quarterbacks that, I think it's Ty Buckner. I think it is.
Tyler Buckner, Tyler Buckner
from
Notre
Simpson. Dame.
Yeah, Tyler Buckner from Notre Dame, and then Ty Simpson, the transfer. I mean, so it's like, I think he's a second-year quarterback. Yeah.
So it's you look at that situation, man, and you just like, okay, I think Jalen Milroe gives him the best, because you talk about being able to make the life of the running backs easy. When you hold that mesh point and you see that big guy in the backfield at quarterback, that defensive end has to respect that. Like, we talk about that with Anthony Richardson, with the Indianapolis coach. You got to respect it. So I think that's a big part, is Jalen Milroe. Not so much having to put the team on his back, but I just think physically he gives the team the best option at quarterback to win. But the thing about it, Keith, is when I saw that he was named QB1, they said that it's not a guarantee that he will remain QB1. So it's basically like a play as you go, right? Like, remember those old pay as you go phones? Like, what I mean? You only use it as much as you put money on it. Okay, so for Jalen Milroe, the better he plays, the more the more time he'll get. But if he starts to taper off, his play starts to falter, then we could see either of the ties, either Ty Simpson or Ty Buckner, stepping in that QB1 role for another game.
DP, that plays right to where I'm going with this. I think at some point, and we just watched Swamp Kings, right? In the very first title, what I believe that was Chris Leak and Tim Tebow, right? Like at the helm running that thing. I think we're going to see a 2-quarterback system for Alabama, because Jalen Milroe, I do think he's a talented quarterback, but I think as of now, he's developing, right? I think they're going to want to get different things out of the passing game, but also Jalen Milroe offers some things that the other quarterbacks don't offer either, right? So I can see it. I think at some point, DP, we're going to see a 2-quarterback situation. I don't think Nick Saban is going into this thing and he's like, okay, I feel 100% comfortable with either guy. And that's why you said that, right? That's why you've seen, the headlines coming out that, hey, this is a week one. This is a fluid situation, right? Like a Stephen A. Smith would say for one of his lists. This is a fluid situation. I think it's going to be fluid, DP, with Alabama quarterbacks. Now, how do they reach the SEC championship and the national championship? You're going to get a flashback to this 2010 Alabama team, right? This team, they're going to run the football. They're going to run a rock. They have a bevy of running backs, man. They have some talented wide receivers. If they may not be the wide receivers for Alabama to the standard of, the Amari Coopers, the Calvin Ridleys, the Julio Jones. But what I think is that they're going to run the game. They're going to run the football, and then they're going to take shots over the top, right? You're going to see, I don't want to say gadget-esque type things, but I think you're going to see some motion type things, hand the ball up to those wide receivers in the backfield, almost, and this is back to the Swamp Kings and stuff like that, but almost how Florida used Percy Harvin, right? I can see one of these wide receivers kind of finding a role, whether it's a Kendrick Law or something like that. So I'm excited to see what Alabama does. I'm expecting a more conservative team, but they're going to get to it. Now the question is, DP, with Alabama, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis in the past, they would have been at Alabama, right? And because you think about the guys of like Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, right? Those true difference makers, those first round
Williams.
Yeah, top 10, top 20 picks. Those guys, we haven't had that from Alabama outside of Will Anderson, right? And he was an edge rusher outside of Will Anderson for Alabama. So who's going to rise to the top for this defensive front? That's going to be the biggest question mark for me. Is one of these young guys going to step up and not just play to the scheme, right? But be a playmaker in the scheme at the interior defensive line position. So that's going to be the biggest question mark.
Tim Smith, man. Keep your eyes on Tim Smith. Defensive tackle, 6'4", over 300. He's going to have to fill that role you're talking about, Keith.
Yeah, he's going to have to get the job done. Somebody's going to have to step up, and whether it is one of these young guys that haven't played yet, neither. One of these young guys are going to have to step up and make some plays with DP. Listen, we talked about a trio, right? So we did Alabama, Georgia. We talked about the SEC, but Ohio State, a team that produces wide receivers left and right? A team that potentially has two, right, top wide receivers, two potential first-round picks in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka. The question mark is, who is the guy that's throwing them the football, man? So let's talk about that. What is Ohio State's path to success? How did they get back to the playoffs? They didn't make it last year. They were bounced by Michigan, which, Ohio State fans, that's the one thing they don't want to happen, right? It's a lot of teams they were willing to lose to, not losing to Michigan, man, but to lose to Michigan in that fashion. How do they return back to success, DP, and just have this dominance and stranglehold over the Big Ten?
Well, for one, they're gonna have to figure out the QB situation. I heard, I think it was on Game Day when I was watching it, that we all know that Kyle McCord was gonna be the starter, but Devin Brown is expected to play, and they're kind of gonna run like a two quarterback system of sorts, Keith. And it's more so running that for right now. Because I think what they're trying to do, I think they played Notre Dame week 4. They're trying to get this thing solidified before that game, right? Because Marcus Freeman's defense is going to be ready to roll. Got a couple weeks under their belts. They're going to be rolling, humming, and be playing physical. I think that's going to be the key, Keith. Ryan Day has to get this team to embody physicality. Why did Michigan beat them the last 2 years? They punched them in the mouth. Like, they straight punched them in the mouth. In 2021, it was the famous Aiden Hutchinson game, right? Where Aiden Hutchinson's out there bully balling their offensive tackles and getting into the backfield, getting to CJ Stroud, things of that nature. They got to embody physicality, man. The run game from Michigan set up the pass play. They gave up 2 huge pass plays to Cornelius Johnson that both went for touchdowns early in that game last year. CJ Stroud played well enough. We talked about that. Offensively, it wasn't so much of a problem. It was the defense couldn't get any stops. So it's like they have to just be more physical on defense, and they have the players to do so. With Eichenberg, Tommy Eichenberg at linebacker, Michael Hall, Tyleek Williams, right? JT at one, and Jack Sawyer at the other, right? You got Ransom in the back end. Like, you have the players that could to where you could play legitimate defense. They just got to go out there and do it. And that's what's their season's going. Yeah, I know we put it on the quarterback, but defensively, they have to play at a higher level in 2023, man.
No, listen, I agree. The physicality part, and you remember those days of AJ Hawk, right? Like roaming the linebacker for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and there's been a couple other linebackers that came through Ohio State. You need that physical type.
Nick and Joey Bosa off the edges, like Chase
we
Young.
Yeah, you need that type of physical temperament once again for Ohio State. Because I don't know if the quarterback with Kyle McCord, right? That's his name. I don't know if he has that upside that CJ Stroud and, all these other quarterbacks that came through Ohio State has. So but we'll see, right? Because he still has a lot of weapons out there. There's freshmen that's going to step up for Ohio State. So they have a lot of ballers on the outside. But as a matter of fact, they can't turn into DP until like a Pac-12ish team, right? To where they have the offensive weapons and the wide receivers, or maybe Big 12. I'll go Big 12, right? To where it's this spread, high-powered offense, and the defense is not stepping up, but it's still not a physical running game. Almost like the blueprint for what Oklahoma was for so long, right? Where it's a really good team, but the minute they go against a physical team, they get punched in the mouth. So Ohio State definitely has to avoid that. With them, DP, I think that's the biggest wild card. I see a path for Alabama. I see a path for Georgia. I want to see what's the identity of this Ohio State team for me to fully buy in on them being college football playoff
Keith,
contenders.
They got 2 new starting tackles, too, on the offensive side of the ball, right? Paris Johnson, DeJuan Jones are in the NFL. They have 2 new starting tackles. I believe it's Josh Fryer, a redshirt junior, and then Josh Simmons, who's a redshirt sophomore, who was a transfer. So they got 2 new tackles and a new quarterback. 2 new quarterbacks right now, until they figure out who's QB1 for sure. But it's going to be a lot that's going to decide what's going to happen with this team, Keith. But, man, hey, for everybody that's watching, man, thank y'all for tapping in. Hop in the comments, man. Holler at us because we'll bring your comment up on screen, and everything like that. So, yeah, definitely chop it up with us and get into the chat. But, man, like, Keith, Colorado, man, Colorado, Keith, and Colorado versus TCU, and this man here, right? This man, primetime Deion Sanders, has brought and this is how I knew this was a different type of vibe at the spring game, which for everybody else around the country, the spring games is typically during the spring. Colorado's spring game, it was cold, it was icy, and it was snowing out, and they still had over 40,000 people in the stands. Why? Because of this man right here, right? He walks in, and what does he say? Listen, this I brought my own luggage. And it's Louis. That's what he told the guys. Like, hey, I'm challenging y'all to make whatever, make adjustments. Are you going to make this team? Keith, this is like, you talk about a team that's coming in with hype. I don't know if there's another team that's coming in with more hype or more big time expectations than Colorado right now.
Yeah, so it's funny, DP, because I was talking to my boy about this, right? And he's I guess you could say casual football fan, right? But that's the impact that Colorado has had on just casual football fans, right? He's like, man, I'm pulling for Colorado. I'm pulling for Deion Sanders. I think they're going to win. They can win 8, 9, 10 games. And I say, whoa. And listen, we got to get down to this, right? At the end of the day, what is Colorado doing? DP, Colorado is overhauling an entire roster. I believe this team went, I don't think they went, they weren't winless last year, but it might have been 1-11 or 2-10, something like that, right? They won minimal games. And Deion Sanders, he's trying to flush that thing out. And I've been a part of programs where you're trying to rebuild it, right? I always say that you want to see what a team's success is, you have to look 2-3 years before, right? So I believe that it's going to take him 2-3 years to build this thing back up, DP. He's not about to just come in there and ball out. And so this is kind of a tidbit for people who not familiar all the way with the HBCU scene, right? Because they look at it, Deion Sanders went straight to Jackson State, right? And he turned that thing around and it became dominant in the sweat. Well, listen, Jackson State ranked amongst the HBCUs. I'm going to give you like a SEC equivalent, right? Jackson State is kind of like Auburn or LSU, right? Like it's not like he went to Vanderbilt and turned Vanderbilt around in the SEC, meaning that there were higher amounts of resources. Jackson State is a team and a brand in the HBCU and SWAC, right? That is used to some sort of success. It's not like they've never seen success before Deion Sanders. Have they ever seen the notoriety? No way, right? And what Deion Sanders did for Jackson State was great. But what I'm saying is that don't just take what he did at Jackson State and brought success there and just automatically implement it to Colorado, because now he's a bottom feeder, like he's at a bottom feeder, bottom tier school that he's going to have to turn around. It's difficult, right? If you're sitting there in the Pac-12, DP, and you have to change around, like Jackson State, you're competing against Southern and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Now, what does Colorado do in Deion Sanders when he's at Colorado, when he has to compete against Lincoln Riley, right? Like he had, like,
Right.
I'm competing for recruits against Lincoln Riley. Like, that's tough. What do I do with that, right? Like, I'm bringing you to Colorado, like you said, it's 25 degrees, and then Lincoln Riley is going to bring you on this Ferrari and this Lamborghini in LA with the palm trees. So it's a different type of battle, and I think there's going to be any patience. Now, I know there was one thing you wanted to talk about, DP, with this conversation was the spread. I know you have the spread on hand, so you mind mentioning the spread.
Keith, we about to face this spread, brother. And I've kept so for everybody who listened to the pod on week 0, we did not win against the spread. The spread beat us. We were 0-1. Then Thursday night, I picked. We talked about what game was that?
Utah and Florida.
Utah and Florida, and Florida wet the bed. I got the dub in there, so I'm 1-1. Keith, you right now, but it's early. It's early. Florida let everybody down. They let themselves down. So when you look at the spread, Keith, per FanDuel Sportsbook, our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, the spread is TCU, who is number 17th ranked team in the nation right now. They are a 20.5-point favorite over Colorado to start the season, Keith. And Keith, where are you on this? Because we're gonna face the spread. This is a game for week 1 that we gotta talk about. Are you with this spread? You betting, that TCU is gonna cover, or you betting on the Colorado?
I'm gonna take Colorado, and I'm gonna take Colorado from the perspective of I think it's gonna be a close game. I just don't know if it's gonna be 20.5 points like FanDuel. It might be 20. I'm just gonna take that and keep it a little bit closer. Like I could see this game being 38 to, I don't know, man. This is tough because I almost said 21 points. I was about to say 38 to 17, but that's 21 points right there. I'm gonna go 38-18, right? I'm gonna go right there. I'm gonna go 38-18. But I do think that Colorado has brought in enough skill guys to score a couple points to keep this thing within 21 points. And then also on the flip side of that coin, DP, TCU, right? TCU situation is that they have a lot of people that they're bringing in now, right? And I believe Chandler Morris, his son, towards ACL, and that's how Max Duggan got the start last year. So he's returning, and I know they feel really comfortable about that. So the quarterback position may be okay, but you're finding replacements for Quentin Johnston, right? You're finding places for a lot of these wide receivers that that make plays and everything. Running back, right? They lost Kendre Miller. They lost Dylan Horton on that side, on the defensive side of the football. So they have a lot of pieces to fill in this week 1. So I think Colorado, because matter of fact, last year, DP, TCU, if I remember correctly, and it was the game that Dylan Morris got hurt, but that game was close. I'm pretty sure because it was like a Thursday or Friday night. That game was close last year. So I'm expecting it to be somewhat close again. I don't think you see the real version of Colorado. I don't think you see the real version of TCU. I'm just expecting it to be under 21 points.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think it's going to be a 21-point, victory. And it's a lot of changes, like you said, with TCU, right? No, technically a new quarterback, but he was supposed to be the starter last year. Garrett Riley is the offensive coordinator in Clemson now. You know what I mean? Right. No Quentin Johnston. The run backs is going to be different, right? But even from the offensive line, Steve Avila going to the NFL, right? So like you got some changes on the O-line. The one guy I'm really excited to see is Jarrett Wiley, the big tight end for TCU. I want to see him get the ball and see how they utilize him and just see what this offense looks like. Is it still going to be that air raid up-tempo spread that we saw last year with Garrett Riley? Or is the new offense coordinator going to run a little different type of scheme? Shout out to Adrian, man. What's going on? Thank you for tapping in with us. Stephen B ask if Deion were to leave Colorado, would they try and hire Eric Bieniemy? Stephen, man, if I remember correctly, that was a talk like maybe a year or two ago that was when the position was coming available that they wanted to go after Eric Bieniemy because that's his alma mater. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to throw a bag at him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but Steven, just to kind of talk to you, just my experience with this coaching thing, right? It's not always about taking the first job that comes to you. You want to take the best job, right? You want to take something because we know how this thing goes. If Eric Bieniemy, everybody's going to be excited for the press conference, right? But he loses the first season, then he loses the second season, then you're going to be fired. So you want to take the best job for you. So I believe that Eric Bieniemy would like to stay in the NFL. If he had no other coaching options, maybe he would take it, but I would say this, Steven. Remember when Mel Tucker was at Colorado, right? And he jumped ship just to go to Michigan State. And I think that's because you're looking at the tiers and the resources that each program has. And so you look at that because Michigan State and the Big Ten DP, it's not like they're Michigan or Ohio State, right? They're still a second tier school, but maybe Mel Tucker looked and viewed Colorado as a third or fourth tier type of school. So I can, maybe they'll approach him, but it would be difficult for me to see or envision Eric Bieniemy wanting to go to Colorado because I think he would have more options.
And Keith, like when they look at Colorado, man, like, you know, Dion brought over some good players. Of course, Travis Hunter being the number one recruit at the time when he came into college football. He's supposed to be playing both sides of the ball. He's supposed to be playing corner and receiver. I'm excited to see that. But keep your eye on, you know, for everybody's listening, Keith, everybody, Jimmy Horn Jr., 5'10", 170-pound junior wide receiver. He is quick twitch. He's explosive, can run routes. He can get open. And for Shedeur Sanders, when you talk about the hype machine is so crazy, Shedeur Sanders is viewed as a potential Heisman candidate. I think he has the talent to be that, right? Now we just got to see how this team plays. You know, even looking at their depth chart, you know, like the defensive line is kind of undersized. Like it's, you know, it's going to be interesting. Like it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the run game of the opponents on their schedule, stuff like that, these bigger offensive lines. But I do believe that Prime is going to be able to get this program where he wants it to be. It may not be year one. We're going to see. We're going to see. They got some talent, but year one to live up to the hype that they have been that's been thrown on their shoulders. That's a tall task, Keith. But I gotta ask you, man. Like we got I think the biggest game on the slate today is tonight. North Carolina versus the Battle of the Carolinas. And we have two high-profile quarterbacks in that matchup, Keith, when it pertains to Spencer Rattler, who is on basically a redemption tour. He's trying to show everybody, I am the first round, not just the first round. People had him up first overall, you know what I mean, of the 2022 NFL draft that summer. So he's trying to prove that he's still that guy. And then you got Drake May, who's trying to close that gap between him and Caleb Williams. Man, what are you looking for in this game?
Man, you start with the quarterback play, right? And Drake May last year, he showed to be playing at a higher level, right? And so I'm going to lean North Carolina, and also I'm going to lean Mac Brown, right? Just a model of consistency with this. I do think it's going to be a really good game. I really do. Now, the parts that concern me with South Carolina is the weapons on the outside, man. And I know they have one wide receiver, but them losing Jaheim Bell, them losing Marshawn Lloyd, right? They're reloading.
Antoine Wells is a little banged up, who's supposed to be their star receiver this year.
Yeah, so I think that part is going to hurt them some. I think South Carolina with Shane Beam, I believe, right? Shane Beamer, they're building a pretty good thing over there. I like Shane Beamer, and that's why I tell people, listen, sometimes I get it, you know, fans, we want to win, but give it time. Shane Beamer looks like he's turning this thing around, but he's doing the right way, and it's going to take time because you're going to have to win some of those recruiting battles and kind of stack recruiting classes. So just give Shane Beamer a little bit more time. But with this game, DP, I'm going with Drake May. I think he's going to show why people were talking about him in the preseason and in the summer as being a potential challenger for Caleb Williams, right? I think he's going to be dealing the football. I trust Mac Brown. Mac Brown is a winning head coach. He understands how to get the job done. So I'm definitely tapping in with Drake May. I think he's going to be a key to success. Well, he will be the key to success, the key reason why the Carolina Tar Heels win this football game.
No, for sure. I think if he can repeat the success he had last year, shout out to Steven. He said the best QB name bowl, Drake versus Rattler, like 100%. Like 100%.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
100%. And I think that the big thing, man, is no Josh Downs, right? And Antoine Green's, he's in Detroit. He's in the NFL. And then the NCAA with this whole situation when it pertains to Tez Walker trying to transfer for, I think, the second time. He's trying to transfer from Kent State to North Carolina, and they have not allowed him, for the waivers. They have not granted him that permission and stuff like that. So he can't play tonight. He cannot play for, and asking the NCAA, man, get it together and let this young man get on the field, man. Stop this foolishness. I thought we were done with this when the transfer portal became a thing, man. I want to see this young man play because he would be the best receiver on the team for for Drake. But you gotta keep your eyes on JJ Jones, 6'2.5", 210-pound outside receiver that can really stretch the field, and then a guy who I expect to fill that Josh Downs role is transfer from Georgia Tech. Nate McCullum, 5'8.5", 185 pounds, a guy that can really run routes. He was a good receiver for the Yellow Jackets, during his time there and everything. But Steven, Steve said, listen, they already had a bad situation around him, and the weapons got even slimmer. Now that some have left, he thinks that the stock will drop a little bit because he's going to have to run more, kind of like Sam Howell. I do remember that final year of Sam Howell. So I called him Sam Tebow. You know what I mean? Like, because Sam was out there having to run like for his life. He was trying to run through defenders. Steve also says that I hope he does well. And he's clearly a Raiders fan because he wants the Raiders to draft him. He's like, I ain't really feeling the Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy G situation. Let me get Drake May in that black and silver.
Steve, I am right there with you, man. I would be on, if I was a Raiders fan, I would be on the Drake May hype train also. I would be on the Drake May hype train also. But DP, let's pivot to the primetime game, right? We're talking Sunday night. We had a little Sunday night football, college football edition, and we have number 5 versus number 8, I believe, in LSU versus Florida State. This game is played in Orlando. It's called a neutral site, but it's in Florida, right?
Come on now.
Right there in the backyard. DP, keys to success. Who's winning this game, and what are your keys to victory?
Man, for this game, Keith, I'm going LSU. I'm going LSU for one. I picked LSU to win the SEC and make it to the college football playoffs. They can't lose this game. So I think it's going to just completely blow up my entire prediction.
So we will tap in Monday morning to see if LSU is still in a college football playoff prediction for you.
They better not lose this game. But I'm going to pick LSU, and I think the keys to victory for them. Now, again, the NCAA is on that BS because Mason Smith can't play. I think they said for something that happened a year or two ago. What are we doing right now, college football? Like, guys, like, you don't have to, like, the NBA has to have like these like random things happen to dominate the headlines and stuff like. You don't have to do that, college football. Once you get into the season, you dominate the headlines until the NFL, until Sunday. So let's not do this type of stuff. But they did it anyway. I think for LSU, man, it's going to be Jaden Daniels, like, making sure he's just being the dual threat that he was last year, right? You're gonna have Jared Verse coming off that edge like a bat out of hell, Keith. And you talk about a guy that was a projected top 20 pick of the 2023 NFL draft. Mike Norvell, recruited him back to come for another year. This young man's going to come out and say, listen, I was a top 20 last year. You better take me top 10 this year. So going up against this offensive line for LSU, Jaden Daniels got to do his thing. Malik Neighbors, man, that connection between those two has to be like consistent all game. I'm talking big game Malik Neighbors, right? 100 plus, 2 touchdowns type of game. Jaden Daniels might have to have 100 yards rushing just to make sure that he's keeping that defense honest. You want to play man-to-man? You want to rush 4? Cool. You give me a run lane, I'm taking it, right? Like that's what he did last year. So for LSU, those are my keys to victory. Jaden Daniels being that dual threat guy and getting the ball to the big play maker that is Malik Neighbors, a guy that I think we're going to see his stock rise a good bit, if they feed him the way that they should this year. But on Florida State side, listen, get it to your Twin Towers, baby. Get it to Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman, man. Like, Jordan Travis has a good arm. He plays kind of helter-skelter at times, so you want to see him kind of play within the pocket. But, man, listen, this offense is one of the best in terms of pure talent in all of college football. Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell at that tight end, H-back. He can line up in the backfield like Aaron Hernandez used to do and take inside handoffs and halfback dives and have no problem running the rock. Then you got Keon Coleman, of course, Jordan Travis,
running back.
Trey Benson. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you got to get these guys. Like, you got to contain that offense. Like, if you're LSU, you got to contain that offense. If you're Florida State, just be balanced. Make them play you honest. And when you have the opportunity to strike, And I think that this is an offense, man, that listen, I told Clemson fans who locked on Clemson, you got to worry about this one. That week 4 matchup when they come to Death Valley, you got to be worried about Florida State.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go real quick. You asked me, oh, wait, DP, you didn't finish. Who you think gonna win the game? You didn't put
Oh,
that part.
LSU. I got no choice but to pick them.
All
Yeah,
right, you picking LSU. Okay, cool. Look, I'm gonna go with LSU too. Is there any surprise, right? I'm going LSU.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going DP. I'm picking LSU. DP, I'm picking LSU to win this game, man. I'm picking those LSU Tigers. I think they're gonna get the job done. And like you said, Jaden Daniels, but this was I was up there reading last night, DP. I was reading an article, and I believe this statistic, this was the numbers were. Jaden Daniels had 4 games where he passed for over 250 yards, and he had 4 games where he passed for under 150 yards. So this is going to come down to will a real Jaden Daniels stand up, right? Or the good Jaden Daniels stand up and be a model of consistency, because this is your season where you put yourself as a potential late day 2 pick in the NFL draft, right? As a quarterback. And I want to see how do teams, because I think last year how Jaden Daniels played, it caught a lot of teams off guard. I want to see this year with their adjustments, how is he going to be able to adjust? But man, for this game, I'm expecting fireworks, man. Let's charge this thing up. This should be a 41-38 type of football game. Both of these defensive backfields, question marks, right? You know, like outside of Florida State with Akeem Dent, and I know LSU has a couple returning starters, but you're talking first round picks and stuff like that. I don't know if those people are out there, right? If those players are out there, those caliber players out there. So I'm expecting some RPOs, some vertical shots, some play action. Take the shots down the field, have fun. I do agree with you. The key to the game will probably be Jared versus Will Campbell. Will Campbell, number 66. Just a little interesting situation. So LSU, we know historically number 7 has always been a thing, right? They've given it to their playmakers. Brian Kelly did something different this year where he gave number 7 to an offensive tackle. He gave it to Will Campbell. So he's doing something different. I don't think Will Campbell is wearing number 67. I think he's going to wear a number 7 patch or something like that.
Oh,
I
okay.
would have just said, just leave the whole number 7 alone. Like if you don't have a playmaker, offensive skill position, just leave it alone, right?
Give
You
number
don't
7
need
to
a
Malik
force.
Neighbors.
Yeah, or you could have did that. Maybe Malik didn't want it. I have no idea, but I know, you know, and then I know you got into a little trouble too in the offseason. Maybe that's why I didn't do it. I have no idea, DP, why they didn't do that. But yeah, I'm going LSU too, man. I think it's gonna be a close game. It's probably gonna be a 1-point win. Last year for LSU was a 1-point loss with the missed extra point, I believe. This year I'm picking a 1-2 point win. I think this game is going to live up to all the hype it's going to be. DP, let's close this thing out, right? Because we're going on 38 minutes, man. Once again, shout out to every day is. But one key thing. Well, let's address Stephen B's question real quick. How stable is FSU's coaching situation? Is it possible they could chase Dion after the season? So, Stephen, before last year, I would have said that that's a real question, right? If they're going to move on from Mike Norvell, but it appears that he's turning everything around. Now, I think the floor for Mike Norvell, for everyone not to be, can I say pissed, like to be a little bit angry out there in Tallahassee, he would have to win at least 9 games. I think this has to be a 9-10 win season for Florida State with a bowl game appearance and a bowl game, like a big time win, right? They have to win a big time bowl game for them not to want to move on. It would be interesting to see if they pursue Deion Sanders after this season. But DP, I want to close this thing out with, you know, we have week 1. You're able to see the slate of games. What is what I'm gonna mention my thing. I'm gonna give you a couple minutes. One under the radar thing that you're looking for with the matchup or a team. I'm gonna go first. Texas A&M versus New Mexico. Bobby Petrino and Jimbo Fisher, a tag team in the offense, baby. I am looking forward to seeing what this thing looks like. And the reason why is because not only is it Bobby Petrino and what Bobby Petrino has done with Bobby Petrino, right? Like he's gonna go down as a legend. He's gonna go down as a coaching legend for multiple different reasons, DP. But I'm gonna bring it from the perspective of if they can get this offense figured out and A&M has a quarterback. The like their trenches are just as good as anybody in the SEC. Their D-line, defensive line, and offensive line is just as good. Now it's about those skill positions offensively. If they can get that thing figured out, they will be SEC West contenders. So that's what I'm looking for. Let's see what this offense looks like. Week 1, New Mexico. That's a key. That's a key that I'm looking for. DP, is something you're looking for?
Man, you know, there's a lot of storylines, Keith, but I'm looking at especially for the NFL draft. Cam Ward, man, over at Washington State. Like, I mean, this NFL, this quarterback class can be an all-timer in terms of talent, Keith. And this young man's going to be out there, Washington State. They're going to run that air raid, that spread offense. He's got the arm talent. He's creative. He can make a lot of different throws. He can make plays with his legs. I want to go out there. I want him to go out here year 2 at Washington State in the Pac-12 and showcase who he is, right? Showcase that, like I think you said, can the real Cam Ward stand up? Can you show us like that NFL talent through and through for the entire season, right? And make this a discussion, because you got Bo Nix, you have, of course, Caleb Williams, you have DJU at Oregon State, Michael Penix at Washington, right? Cam Ward, you're kind of a forgotten man. You're a forgotten man right now in the Pac-12 in terms of the quarterback situation, right? So go out there and showcase yourself. Heck, people are probably more excited to see Dante Moore, the 5-star at UCLA, than talk about Cam Ward. Go for Cam Ward, just go out there and ball, man. I want to see him really showcase what he's about, and like all the hype and everything, Keith, that we heard about, right? And coming into the last season, from him coming from Incarnate Word. That's such a weird name for a school, but like for him coming over from Incarnate Word, I think is the name of it, and going to Washington State, I just want to see him like really take over. Like, do you have that ability? Because it could be a situation if he goes out there and balls, he might be a first-round pick back in the first round, where teams can't help but draft quarterbacks. So He could be a back in the first round type of quarterback. So if there's one storyline I'm watching out for, because I think today on the schedule, Washington State they travel tonight to play Colorado State. So, on CBS Sports Network. So go out there and ball, man. Set the world on fire. Give us something to talk about on Monday morning. Give me a reason to give you the game ball, Cam Ward. Give me a reason to give you the game ball. So I'm keeping my eyes on him tonight, Keith.
All right, well, cool. Well, that wraps up today's show, man. It's Saturday morning. Like I said, man, Saturday we have college football. Life is good. It is what it should be, man. Thank you for tapping in with us. Like I said, man, shout out to our everydayers, even our people that tap in with us on Saturday. We are bringing this 45 minutes of fire every single Saturday, man. We're talking college football. We're talking draft prospects. You know we do. Your dynamic duo, Keith Sanchez. You can find me on Twitter at The Talent Code. Then you have DP, Damian Parsons. You can find him on Twitter at DP_NFL, man. Y'all go enjoy y'all Saturdays, man. Y'all make sure to tweet at us. Talk to us, man. What are y'all seeing in college football? What are y'all seeing with these draft prospects? What do you like that we said? What do you don't like that we said? But make sure y'all tap in with us like we always say, man. Y'all talk to us because we talk back. Once again, we definitely appreciate y'all tapping in with us.
For sure. Hey, couldn't say it better myself, brother. Couldn't say it better myself. Guys, and like Keith said, enjoy your Saturday. Eat food. Have some drinks, be safe. I enjoy week 1 of college football, a ton of slate of games, and we will talk to y'all on our normal schedule Monday morning.